Hi everyone, welcome to IGCSE Study Buddy, where you can revise biology topics from the Cambridge IGCSE syllabus. If you are enjoying these videos so far, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. In this video, you are going to learn part 2 of chapter 16, Reproduction. The process of human reproduction involves the fusion of the male gamete, that is the sperm, with the female gamete, that is the egg. Let's first learn the parts of the male reproductive system. These are the testes. This is the scrotum. This is the sperm duct. This is the prostate gland. This is the urethra. And this is the penis. Now, the functions of these structures. The testis is the part that produces sperm, which is the male gamete, and testosterone, which is a hormone. The scrotum holds the testis outside of the body to keep it colder than the body temperature, which is ideal for sperm production. The sperm duct is a tube that carries sperm from the testis to the urethra. The prostate gland secretes nutritive fluid, which combines with sperm to form semen. The urethra is the tube which allows excretion of urine and semen from the body, but never at the same time. The penis passes urine out of the body from the bladder and allows semen to pass into the vagina of a woman during sexual intercourse. Next, let's learn the parts of the female reproductive system. These are the ovaries. These are the oviducts. This is the uterus. This is the cervix. And this is the vagina. Now, the functions of these structures. The ovaries are where egg cells, that is the female gametes, are developed. The oviduct is the place where fertilization takes place. It connects the ovary to the uterus and is lined with ciliated cells to push the released ovum down it. The uterus is the place where the fetus develops. The cervix is a ring of muscle that keeps the fetus in place during pregnancy. And the vagina is the entry point for the penis. Fertilization is the fusion of the nuclei from a male gamete, that is the sperm, and a female gamete, that is the egg cell. This happens at the oviducts. Gametes have adaptations to increase the chances of fertilization and successful development of an embryo. The adaptive features of sperm are: it has a flagellum or a tail to swim towards the egg cell. It has mitochondria to provide energy for movement. And it has enzymes in the acrosome, which is the head region, to break down the egg cell's protective layer. Next, the adaptive features of egg cells. It has energy stores. The cytoplasm contains a store of energy to support early development after fertilization. And it has a jelly coat that changes at fertilization to prevent multiple sperm from entering the egg. Let's compare male and female gametes. A sperm is very small while an egg cell is large. Sperms have a head region and a flagellum or tail, while an egg cell is round with a jelly coating. Sperms can move, but an egg cell cannot move on its own. Sperms are produced every day in millions, and although each ovary contains thousands of immature eggs, only one is released each month. Before moving on to pregnancy, let's take a quick look at what happens first. Sperm enters the oviduct, and if an egg is present, it can get fertilized. So where did this egg come from? It was released from the ovary and it was moved through the oviduct with the help of cilia. And then fertilization takes place, which is the fusion of nucleus of a sperm and a nucleus of an egg cell. So once the egg cell is fertilized by the sperm in the oviduct, a zygote is formed. It travels towards the uterus. In early development, the zygote forms an embryo, which is a ball of cells that implants into the lining of the uterus. Here, the embryo continues to grow and develop. The embryo grows into a fetus, and it takes around 9 months for the fetus to be fully developed. During this time, the fetus receives its nutrition from the mother. Let's look at the structures involved in the development of the fetus. This is the placenta. This is the umbilical cord. This is the amniotic sac. And this is the amniotic fluid. The placenta develops during pregnancy and attaches to the uterine wall. It acts as an interface between the mother's blood supply and developing fetus. It provides oxygen and nutrients to the fetus. Movement of all molecules across the placenta occurs by diffusion due to the difference in concentration gradients. So dissolved nutrients like glucose, amino acids and fats diffuse across the placenta from the mother's blood. It removes waste products from the fetus, so dissolved waste substances like carbon dioxide and urea are removed from the fetus's blood so that they do not build up to dangerous levels, and they diffuse across the placenta into the mother's blood to be excreted. It also produces hormones that help maintain the pregnancy, that is estrogen and progesterone. It is important to note that some pathogens and toxins can pass across the placenta and affect the fetus. Some pathogens, such as the rubella virus, for example, may pass through the placenta. Pregnant women are advised not to smoke during pregnancy, as toxins like nicotine can pass across the placenta. The umbilical cord connects the developing fetus to the placenta. So it provides the fetus with oxygen and nutrients from the mother's blood via the placenta. It removes waste products from the fetus and returns them to the mother's blood via the placenta. The amniotic sac surrounds and protects the developing fetus. It contains amniotic fluid, which cushions and supports the fetus. It helps regulate the temperature around the fetus. Amniotic fluid cushions and protects the developing fetus. It helps the fetus move and develop properly. It helps regulate the temperature around the fetus. Now we shall move on to sexual hormones in humans. Puberty is the period when the body undergoes changes as a child progresses into adulthood. There are two main hormones responsible for the development and regulation of secondary sexual characteristics during puberty. In males, the hormone responsible is testosterone. In females, it's estrogen. The effects of testosterone in males are growth of penis and testis, growth of facial and body hair, muscles develop, voice deepens, and testes start to produce sperm. The effects of estrogen in females are breasts develop, body hair grows, the menstrual cycle begins, and hips get wider. Now let's learn about the menstrual cycle. Ovaries release an ovum or egg cell every 28 days. The uterus lining thickens in preparation for embryo implantation. If ovum is not fertilized, uterus lining breaks down. The unfertilized egg cell together with the old uterus lining are passed out of the vagina. This is known as menstruation or a period. Let's look at how the lining of the uterus changes during the menstrual cycle. Menstruation lasts around 5 to 7 days and marks the beginning of a new menstrual cycle. After menstruation, the lining of the uterus starts to thicken in preparation for possible implantation. The uterus lining continues to build up and is maintained. If the egg is not fertilized, the uterine lining starts to break down and results in menstruation or period. Now let's look at the changes in ovaries during the menstrual cycle. Follicles in the ovary begin to grow and mature. One follicle becomes dominant and continues to grow. The dominant follicle ruptures and releases an egg around day 14. The remaining cells form the corpus luteum. If the egg is not fertilized, the corpus luteum degenerates and leads to menstruation. The menstrual cycle and pregnancy are controlled by 4 main hormones: estrogen, progesterone, FSH or follicle stimulating hormone, and LH or luteinizing hormone. Estrogen is produced by the ovaries during the menstrual cycle. It is produced by the placenta during pregnancy. It stimulates the growth of the uterus lining, making it thicker. It causes the follicle containing the egg to mature in preparation for ovulation. It stimulates LH production and it decreases FSH production. Progesterone is produced at the ovaries during the menstrual cycle. It is produced by the placenta during pregnancy. Progesterone helps maintain the thick uterus lining during the menstrual cycle and during pregnancy. It decreases FSH production. If the egg is not fertilized, the progesterone level drops. A fall in progesterone levels causes the uterine lining to break down. This is menstruation or period. FSH is produced in the pituitary gland. It causes a single follicle which contains an egg cell in the ovary to develop and mature. It also stimulates the ovaries to start releasing estrogen. LH is produced in the pituitary gland. When estrogen levels have reached their peak, it stimulates the pituitary gland to release LH. It stimulates ovulation, that is, it triggers an egg to be released. It also stimulates progesterone production in the ovaries. Let's look at the estrogen and progesterone levels during the menstrual cycle. So in the first few days during menstruation, there will be low levels of estrogen and progesterone. Afterwards, the levels of estrogen start to increase, leading to the thickening of the uterus lining. Progesterone levels remain low during this time. On day 14, ovulation takes place, and this causes a sharp increase in estrogen levels and a smaller increase in progesterone levels. After that, the ruptured follicle transforms into the corpus luteum, which produces high levels of progesterone to prepare the uterus for potential pregnancy. Estrogen levels also continue to increase. If pregnancy does not occur, the corpus luteum breaks down, causing a drop in estrogen and progesterone levels and leading to menstruation. Now let's look at the FSH and LH levels during the menstrual cycle. In the first few days during menstruation, the FSH and LH levels are relatively low. FSH levels gradually increase and stimulate the growth of follicles in the ovaries. LH levels also begin to rise in response to increasing estrogen levels from the growing follicles. On day 14, the surge of LH triggers ovulation, causing the dominant follicle to release an egg. LH levels decrease after ovulation while FSH levels remain stable. Let's summarize how all 4 hormones control the menstrual cycle and pregnancy. The pituitary gland produces FSH, which stimulates the development of a follicle in the ovary. An egg develops inside the follicle and the follicle produces the hormone estrogen. Estrogen causes growth and repair of the lining of the uterus wall and inhibits the production of FSH. When estrogen rises to a high enough level, it stimulates the release of LH from the pituitary gland, which causes ovulation, usually around day 14 of the cycle. The follicle becomes the corpus luteum and starts producing progesterone. Progesterone maintains the thickness of the uterus wall. If the ovum is not fertilized, the corpus luteum breaks down and progesterone levels drop. This causes menstruation, where the uterus lining breaks down and is removed through the vagina. If pregnancy does occur, the corpus luteum continues to produce progesterone until the placenta has developed, at which point it takes over progesterone production throughout the pregnancy. Lastly, let's take a look at sexually transmitted infections. A sexually transmitted infection, or an STI, is an infection that is transmitted through sexual contact. Human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV, is a pathogen that causes an STI. HIV is present in the bodily fluids of infected people, such as blood and semen, and can be transmitted through sexual intercourse. HIV attacks and weakens the immune system by reducing the number of functioning lymphocytes and decreasing the body's ability to produce antibodies to fight off infection, leaving the body more vulnerable to other infections and diseases. An HIV infection may lead to AIDS. AIDS, or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, makes an individual highly vulnerable to other pathogens as their white blood cells are unable to fight infection, potentially resulting in death. The methods of transmission of HIV are unprotected sexual intercourse, sharing needles with an infected person, blood transfusions with infected blood, from mother to fetus through the placenta, and mother to baby via breastfeeding. How is the spread of STIs controlled? By limiting the number of sexual partners an individual has, by using condoms, getting tested if unprotected sex or sex with multiple partners has occurred, raising awareness through education programs, abstinence from sexual intercourse if one is infected with an STI, and using sterilized needles instead of sharing. That concludes Chapter 16, Reproduction. Hope this video helped you. Please share your thoughts and suggestions in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe to IGCSE Study Buddy for more biology revision videos. Bye.